Alright gang, we had some pretty big Warzone news today. We had direct statements from the developers, and I kind of want to go over this. I know yesterday we kind of had like a wrap up of this, but this is actually pretty big. I just want to go and show this before we covered it. If you haven't seen the Warzone map, this is it. If you haven't played zombies, there are some of the ground war maps on here. So obviously we have the resort, Popov Power, Orlov military base. All three of these are ground war maps. And then we have like Zaravan City, Zaravan Suburbs, the Shaheen Manor. It's gonna be pretty sick. I'm actually like super excited for this map. I think it's gonna play pretty nice, especially because most landmasses are like connected. The only two that seem like iffy or there's bridges connecting these. Obviously you can swim across, that's no like super issue. But main points of interest are gonna be here and here. It makes me wonder like where the hottest drop's gonna be. I wonder if it's going to be around Popov or maybe over here in Opal Palace. I mean, this looks kind of crazy. But anywho, this is the map. Here's what the developers had to say today. Directly from Raven Software, it states, this morning we announced that the player count for Warzone Battle Royale is 100 players. Our top priority is creating an optimal and fun experience for all of our players based on critical metrics. These metrics include time to action, the map size of Urzikstan, new circle timing, and sizes. Total match time 20 minutes. To give you perspective, like whenever I was recording a match in Warzone 1, usually around 25 minutes was a full match. Like from the time like we started going on the plane to the time it was like Victory Royale, we're back in the plane, it's about 25 minutes. So 20 minutes is good. That's a lot faster than what we saw last year with Warzone 2. Those matches were like 28 to 30 minutes. I mean, that shaves off a pretty good amount of time. Red dots are coming back. When they say red dots, they mean like on the minimap. If you shoot an unsuppressed weapon, red dots will pop up. Contracts and various new and existing second chance mechanics. We believe we found the right balance to offer multiple phases, starting off with fair info and looting, followed by healthy mid-game engagements and an in-game climax where the best players leave with the win. As always, we will continue to monitor community sentiment and internal data closely. Let's see, making adjustments as needed over time. This is huge. They made a statement actually on Repulse's podcast the other day saying that if creators can get enough players to back an idea, that they would actually go through and give them a shot to test it out, try it, see if it was what we needed. But this is the most we've had like a company listen to us, like what we want to have done with Warzone, like I think ever. Like it's actually crazy how much they're listening. Since what matters most is that you drop in Wednesday and experience it for yourself. What I took away from this, like the biggest thing obviously is that 100 players. Keep in mind Urzikstan's 20% smaller than Al Mazrah is, and Al Mazrah was bigger than Verdansk, but I don't know by how much. It makes me wonder if Urzikstan's going to be slightly smaller than Verdansk. It would have to be with only 100 players. I would assume it's going to be smaller than Verdansk. I'm sure someone's going to have like a one-to-one scale soon enough where we can actually compare it to Verdansk. But it's relatively small, I gotta say. I mean, even in zombies, you can get around the map like pretty quick. So 100 players should be fine. But again, if it seems like it's not enough, if it's not like enough action anymore, they'll probably bump it up to like 130, maybe 125. It would be really cool if they would do 150. I like that. It's hectic. That's where it gets really fun. It's where there's just people everywhere. But 100 players is fine. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we won't know until we test it. But this is pretty big news, knowing exactly how many players we're going to be having, and especially having like a generalized scale of the map being 20% smaller than Al Mazrah. I mean, a quarter of the size smaller is a pretty big difference. Al Mazrah was a really, really big map. And even with that being said, in helicopters, it didn't take too long to get across the map. So take a quarter of that out of the way, and I mean, we really have ourselves like a pretty action-packed map. I want to say Fortune's Keep had like 70 players, something like that. So this only has 30 more players than Fortune's Keep. It's obviously a lot bigger than Fortune's Keep. So I'm excited to see how that's going to play. Part of me thinks that's not enough players, but we'll learn pretty quick. I know with like beta week 1, there were like a lot of things going on that players didn't like, and for the beta week 2, it was fixed. So if this drops in the first week, so everyone's like, yo, what's going on? It will be fixed ASAP. They're not going to let it sit like they did in Warzone 2. I think the developers have an understanding that they can't you know, sit on these complaints for too long, because they're just going to lose player base, especially with how creative a lot of other games are being right now. They really have to pull something out of the hat, and I really hope that they focus on UI with everything and just the core mechanics of Warzone. We kind of covered that yesterday, but you know, 10,000 for loadout, off rip, no timers. Like, you land in, you get the money, you buy it, you're good to go. That needs to be like a core value. And then buying like your weapons at the buy stations are so chopped. Just make it a list. That was so simple, so easy. Like, the more complicated you make these battle royales, the slower they're gonna play, the least you're gonna get from it. It seems like all the other battle royales I tend to play, like when I'm messing with the homies, are very simple. Everything's super simple. Like, I don't have to play the game all the time. I can just load on, play, and I have a full total understanding of what's going on. I can still hold pace. Warzone's kind of adding this, like, I don't even know if it's realism at this point, dude. Like, if I was in combat, I don't think they'd want me to go through a million tabs just to buy something at a buy station. If that was like a legitimate thing, they'd want it to just be a list. Like, let's be realistic about it. But that's the news, gang. Look, I hope you enjoy. I hope this answers any questions you guys had. Super excited. We have a lot of big changes coming, and we will be able to play them in a little over 24 hours. So, gang, hit the sub, crush the like. I'll catch you tomorrow with another banger. Let's get it.